main skills we need on both the multiple choice and eventually the writing when we get to the next levels of social studies in high school is some analysis of a source. And here we're analyzing a cartoon, and we're trying to analyze it to get two things: a perspective about immigration and a perspective about the nature of mankind. So chapter 5 gives us an opportunity to study immigration, and here's a quick look at immigration. Anybody be able to tell what country it's from based upon any of the nuances or elements within the source? So the fourth caption down here at the bottom says, we've got nothing against Mexicans, but they refuse to assimilate. We should erect a wall. Anybody know what country has been in 2020 and a couple of years previous to it building a wall with Mexico? Or could Canada build a wall with Mexico? Canada does or does not share a border with Mexico? We do not. So we can't really build a wall. Keep Mexico out because we don't have a border with Mexico. Who has a border with Mexico? Anybody know any country that borders Mexico?
America.
America. So this could be a source coming from the United States. So in this quarter, they are saying, what about immigration? Who do they not want to come to the United States? What are they saying in this quarter right here? We don't want these guys. Yes?
Christians.
Yeah, Catholics specifically, because at that time they're accepting Protestants. The United States and the 13 colonies, many of them were founded on different versions of Protestant faith. 1850, who are they saying no to?
Chinese.
The Chinese. 1920, they're saying no to the Jewish people, and now they're saying no to Mexican people. So the ideological perspective is that in the United States, depending upon what era you're looking at, there's been a different group that have been denied immigration. That the United States has been trying to not allow certain groups, whether it be Catholics, and then it became Chinese people, then it became the Jewish people, now it's Mexicans. They're saying that this is a recurring theme in the United States, that the American people may feel that there's certain groups that they don't want to come to the U.S. Do we know of a term that is used to describe fear of outsiders? This is an emotion that those people are displaying. We have a term that means fear of outsiders. So the term is xenophobia, and I'll write it on the board over here. It's one of those cool words that starts with an X. So xenophobia is fear of outsiders. And in each cartoon quarter, they're showing a fear of outsiders. Now the group is changing. Catholics, to the Chinese, to the Jewish people, to Mexican people. But the theme is the same. The Americans have a fear of outsiders. The targeted group of their fear has changed over the centuries, but the emotion is still there. So the ideological perspective is that Americans have been anti-immigration throughout history. Has the cartoonist drawn it in a way that makes you sympathetic towards the Americans shown in the photos, or the immigrants they're talking about that are not shown in the photos? Yes? Yeah, because they're showing how these people are being intolerant, how they're discriminating, how they're prejudging, and because we're associating negative qualities to the people shown, our emotions are then drawn towards the immigrants that are being denied access. So it's safe to infer means to suggest, it's safe to suggest or to infer that the cartoonists would like to see America accept more immigrants. That the cartoonist is trying to expose xenophobia. That the cartoonist believes that maybe there's room in America for more. What's a perspective about the nature of mankind? So, nature of mankind means man's good, or man's bad, or man's greedy, or man is selfless. Man is what based upon these four captions? What are some qualities that you could use to describe this guy, that also describes this guy, that also describes this guy, that also describes this family? So what are some qualities, some characteristics? Man is blank. Man is kind, man is cruel. What are some qualities that you could use to describe them? We're just recording, that's why we had the door closed, because hallways can be disrupted. What are some qualities that we could guess?
Man is selfish.
Man is selfish, right? Man is selfish. So this individual is saying, no, you can't join us. You cannot join us. America's for me and people like me. America's not for Catholics, Chinese, Jewish people, or Mexicans. We're selfish. We want to keep it for us. Yes? Man by nature is biased. Man by nature is selfish. Man by nature is biased. Man by nature is, yes? Discriminating. Now you guys are on a roll. So, this cartoon has done a number of things for us. The cartoon is about the theme of immigration. So we knew we were going to learn something about immigration, or at least what the cartoonist thinks about immigration. And what the cartoonist has done is shown us a kind of a historical, chronological summary of immigration policies in the U.S. One time they're anti-Catholic, and then anti-Chinese, and then anti-Jewish, and now anti-Mexican. So there's a message about immigration policy in the U.S. and how the policy has been quite limiting. But there's also a message about the nature of mankind, that we're xenophobic, that we're biased, that we're prejudiced, that we're selfish. And the cartoonist is trying to get us to be more emotionally connected to those immigrants that are trying to get to America. So excellent job there, guys. So we're going to continue our lesson on immigration here today. And by the time you leave here today, we'll know more about the concept of immigration. We'll also know more about immigration policies here in Canada. We are going to focus mostly on Canada. We have a lesson on immigration, lesson 7, chapter 5. I'm going to bring that up now. And in that lesson, we have haunting photos like this one that echo the sentiment of that cartoon we just looked at. You have this hand. It's purposely showing just a hand and not a person, because now the hand could be our hand. We're meant to relate to the hand. We're meant to identify as a person caught on the wrong side of the barbed wire. On one side of the barbed wire is America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, all that opportunity, the wealthiest country on earth, but we're on the wrong side. We're on the Mexican side. We're trying to get into America, and the barbed wire is a manifestation of the selfishness, the prejudice, all those things that you identified about the nature of mankind. So lots of cartoons at the beginning. This one is more celebrating that opportunity that immigrants are being pulled, right? Push-pull factors from last day. Immigrants are being pulled into the United States here. You can see lots of people moving. They're exercising their freedom of mobility. They're moving to America. Here they're moving to Canada. Here a family is obviously being rushed. The child is being rushed. They might be fleeing something. So that might be that push factor. They're being pushed out of their country. So whereas some people want to build a wall, this lady with the sign wants to welcome immigrants. So in America today, immigration is a controversial topic because some believe that the United States needs to share more of its wealth with those caught on the wrong side. And here you have a child and the child's in a cage. Because as you may know, at the border, many individuals try to cross into America illegally. And when children and their families cross into America illegally and get caught, the children and their families will find themselves into cages. Sometimes the children are found or will be put into cages alone and for long periods of time. And when you put kids into cages, whether they're illegal immigrants or not, it becomes a topic of concern for many. And that's what this cartoonist is trying to show. And they're trying to show that word that I've used before in class. There's a juxtaposition here, right? Juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is a term for English language arts. Juxtaposition, we have a contrasting there in the foreground, background. We have the American flag that is meant to be a symbol of freedom, liberty, prosperity, opportunity. It's contrasting with the cage because historically many people came to the United States to escape the confines of either literal or metaphorical cages in mostly places in Europe. But now, instead of being this great beacon of hope, the United States is closing its borders. And that's what's being contrasted here. The historical image of America that the flag is meant to represent and the reality of what it means today. So our main takeaway from last class was this. Key concept from last class. Canada continues to increase its immigration levels to support its high living standards. So Canada has 38 million people, and we have a number of Canadians already retired, and we have a big group of people near retirement. And as Canadians transition from the workplace to retirement, we have a labor force that is in need of replacement workers, but we also have senior citizens that will become more in need of health care. A health care that they paid taxes into their entire working lives, and now they're going to be using it more. Because as we get older, we get more prone to illness, and therefore they'll need to go and see medical assistance more often. But if we don't replace our aging society with new Canadians, then we may not have the tax base to support our seniors in their twilight years. So one way to replace them is organically. Canadians can have more babies. Canadians are not having more babies. We're not creating a replacement population. So one big reason to pull immigrants into Canada is so that we can continue to deliver the same quality health care to our aging population. And we can't do that because it's just not enough Canadians jumping into the labor force. So that was a key concept from Friday, right there. Also Friday, we looked at the Williams videos, and we did the questions at the beginning. And today we're going to continue. Now we're going to jump into a Prezi. And once we're done the Prezi, we'll go outside for a mask break, because it's getting close to that time. And then when we get back from the mask break, if you've been looking ahead, because the neat thing about the online textbook is it's all there for you, so you can always go ahead. You can see that there's lots of little rabbit holes here. Little rabbit holes that you can go down and continue your study on immigration. Before I jump into this Prezi, two things. I need to remind you that we have our midterm this Thursday, and that finishes the first half of the course, chapters 1 through 5. It's really more than half because there's 9 chapters, and the 9th chapter is a very small chapter. We are absolutely not by the second, but pretty close, exactly where we're planning to be. So the reason why we have a plan is so we don't fall, a day or a week behind, and then at the end I'm like, hey guys, I need you to do 2 chapters today, because we're behind. No, we're absolutely where we need to be, which is great, but where that is we're being tested on chapters 1 through 5 on Thursday. And I went over the test twice last week because the audio didn't record once. So if you weren't here, it's on our Google Classroom, the test that we're writing later this week. So the only thing we're doing before the mass break is we're going to look at this Prezi, but we need to know why we're looking at it. First thing we're going to do is look at some historical posters. We just want to look at the posters, much like we just analyzed that cartoon. We want to look at these posters and say, what do the posters reveal? What do they show us about our immigration policy? That's the first thing we're going to do. So, the Prezi's like 80 some slides long. We're only going to look at the slides we need to. So we're going to skip through some. Otherwise, we could get lost in it. That's why we had those directing things. So we're going to go here to slide 8. What messages can we get about immigration from these posters? Let's zoom in. We've got free farms for the million. Right? So right there, what type of worker are we trying to entice to come to Canada? Free farms. We're trying to entice farmers, right? So free farms for the million. So they show pictures of farms. Climate, the healthiest in the world. Is that a push or a pull factor? Saying we've got a good climate here. Is that going to push them or pull them to Canada? That's a pull factor, right? It's pulling them in. Push is something pushing them out of their existing country. Free farms of 160 acres. Manitoba, Canada, Northwest, and British Columbia. Grants from 100 to 200 acres are offered in other parts of Canada. And then they offer you a way to get there. Looking at the Dominion Line Royal Mail steamships and more about the actual voyage, who are we advertising to? So we're saying, not only can you get free land, but here's the way to get to us. There's a boat leaving Liverpool, and there's a boat leaving Bristol, and it comes to Montreal, Halifax, and Portland, Maine in the winter. So who are we targeting? Are we targeting people in Tokyo? Are we targeting people in Beijing, Shanghai? Are we targeting people in Cairo, in Egypt? Are we targeting people in Guadalajara? Are we targeting people in New Delhi, in India? No. We're targeting people where? Where's Liverpool? Where's Bristol? These are in, can you pick a continent? They're in Europe. Nobody watches soccer? Liverpool? Footy? British Premier League? Anyways, Liverpool. This is where the Beatles were from. You know, they're from Liverpool. This is in England. So we're advertising to England. We're advertising to the English. England represents almost 40% of Canadians are from England. And why? Because we advertise there. Go figure. So, we advertise in England, we're targeting English people. So what are we getting from this source? We're getting that we're trying to entice farmers to come. We're trying to pull them here by suggesting it's the healthiest climate in the world. We're promising them free land, but we're also advertising specifically to England. And you can see that here with the boats. Now there's other boats here too, saying you can come here and then you can go to Australia, and maybe you can go there and you can find your way eventually to the Philippines. All right. So, it's another farm, but this time you're going to show them the farm. So, you're creating an ad and you show them the farm. Who are you targeting? People that want what? A farm, right? So these are people that probably are working in the farming industry, the agricultural industry in Europe, but they're landless. They don't have their own farm. So you're going to show them this idyllic farm where it's just them. It's not crowded, there's no government, it's just them and their animals, it's peaceful, it's freedom. This is what you can own, your own home. So this is for people who don't own their own land. Majority of farmers in Europe did not own their own land. At the turn of the 17th century, at the turn of the 18th century, in Ireland, the British Crown took the Irish farmlands away from the Irish farmers and gave it to English landlords. Irish farmers didn't own their own land. This is targeting them. Ready-made farm. It's easy. So somebody doesn't want to come to Canada and have a lot of difficulty getting the land, right? So they're trying to make it sound like this is waiting for you. Now, we know that the settlers, when they did come here, it wasn't easy, right? Many of them had to forgo very harsh climates. And that's why those original houses were made from things like dirt and sod, because that's all they had to build their houses from. You know, grass for the roof, insulated, and dirt for the walls. So, you're seeing a recurring theme here, that they're targeting people that may want land. Next up, define the categories of immigrants. So we want to look through this Prezi and see if we can try to figure out some categories of immigrants. So we keep flipping through. There's some stuff that doesn't relate to the thing we're searching for. There we go. There's categories of immigrants. So when you're doing research, you have to research with some kind of mission, right? Some kind of purpose. What is guiding us? In 2006, we had 4 categories of immigrants. Refugees, family, economic, and other. And you can see that the majority of new Canadians are coming here because they have something economically Canada needs. You have a skill, maybe some training, maybe you're a doctor. Chatsworth needs doctors. That yes, we do have room for refugees and humanitarian, compassionate reasons, but that's less than 1 in 5. Majority of new Canadians are coming here because they have training for an area we don't have enough workers in. The second biggest category would be people joining family that already live here. Spouses, parents, children, maybe grandparents of people already living in Canada. So this is the categories of immigration. So in your notes, hopefully, you wrote down categories of immigration because that was the second thing we were searching for. And you wrote down, economic is the biggest, 55%. Second biggest is family. And then there's refugees and humanitarian. So, that was the second thing we were looking for. Third thing we're looking for is we need to figure out what the point system is. And then we need to define a refugee, and then it's mask break time. So we need to look through here and say, okay, what's the point system? What's the point system? So, I don't see anything about points. Don't see anything about points. I gotta know what I'm looking for. Looking for something about points, right? So keep looking through until I see something that says, oh man, they're telling me about points. And then I will stop and see if I can understand the point system. So one of the skills that you're going to need when you pursue college and university, missed it, is research. And when you research, you may be looking at a number of different sources. And you need to say, why am I looking at it? So here I'm looking for the point system. So the system begins in 1967. It applies only to economic immigrants. Refugee and family class immigrants do not have to qualify for the point system. So what is the point system basically doing? It's seeing how much do we need you. Economically, how bad do we need you? And if we need you bad enough, we're going to say, come on in. That's the point system. It's a way to measure how much our economy needs you. So if Canada has a shortage of family doctors, then if someone's trying to relocate to Canada and they have the training to be a family doctor, then they will score better on a point system test than somebody who is trying to relocate to Canada and they're an unskilled worker. Unskilled and just basically have no idea what they're going to do here for employment. So what is the point system? It's a way to measure how much our economy needs you to move here. Now, what was the last thing? We needed to define refugees, right? So the last thing, we're looking through here and saying, okay, what's a refugee? Oh, by the way, it did say that you can lose points for things like, health. Points could go down because you have a lot of sickness and stuff like that. So now we're just flipping through here. Oh, that's a cute frog, water, now I'm getting thirsty, I get it, lots of cool pictures. What's a refugee? Think fair share, you can't do that, it's time of pandemic, we can't really get that close to each other. One thing that you may want to do, a lot of people like to do those ancestry.coms and stuff like that. You may want to create a family tree. It's not an assignment for me, but it might be a passion for you to try to figure out, your story. It's always a neat thing to do. All right, still looking for refugee. Tell me when you see it. Oh, I think we missed it.
One more.
Refugee, a person who seeks refuge in another country because of danger or persecution in their home country. Easiest question of the day, my friends. I'm going to ask it, you're going to get it right, and we're going to go get a mask break. If you find danger or persecution in your home and you come to Canada, is that danger and persecution? And I want everybody to think about this. Nobody shout out the answer. Is that danger and persecution in your home country? Is that a push or a pull factor? Danger and persecution in your country is why you're coming to Canada. I'm in Ireland and it's unsafe for me to be there because I'm in danger. I'm being persecuted because there's McBrides that I'm related to that are in the IRA, and we fought a civil war against the English and we lost, and now we're being hunted. So we moved to Canada. Is that danger or persecution, is that push or pull factor? All right, so we got two hands. You got a left hand and you got a right hand. A left is going to be push, right hand is going to be pull. Which one is it, left or right? Push or pull? Left is right, and no, left is push and right is pull. Put up your hand nice and high. It would be a push factor. Once you have down where a refugee is, feel free to go on outside.